Welcome to another Sunday WOAY ABC4 Community Forum, where we talk to community leaders and local success stories to discuss important information that affects all of us here in Southern West Virginia. I'm your host, Brandy Lawrence. And today we're joined by another distinguished guest. Mark Lilly, who is the president of the Raleigh County Beekeepers Cooperative Association, joins us this morning. Thanks so much for coming to the forum.
Thanks for inviting me.
Definitely. So I know that you know a lot about bees.
Yeah, that's how I earned my livelihood. I'm the head beekeeper for the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective that's headquartered in Hinton, West Virginia. And then my part-time job is Mountain State Bee Farm, which myself and my son-in-law run.
Awesome. And we see that I know a lot of people are coming out now and talking about how important bees are to our society and, you know, our food supply and everything. So what really got you into bees?
Well, when I was just a little fella, my grandfather had bees on his farm, and it was just fascinating just to hear the buzzing and see all the activity. And I guess some of it, just because he said to leave them alone, made me more curious. Unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of information passed to me from him. I do remember once telling me, well, maybe using a loud voice to say, "Get away from those bees." So I must have been getting ready to do something bad, but it kind of piqued an interest. A lot of my family, my brother-in-law in Ohio has bees. So it was just something that intrigued me, and probably 25 or more years ago, when we moved to where we live now, I had the chance to set up my own bee yard. So started off as a hobby, and it's just kind of grown.
Wow, that's wonderful. And we have the upcoming Beckley Honey Festival, which I know that a lot of the local honey and bee associations are going to be involved in. So can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect there?
Yeah, so the 6th annual Beckley Honey Festival will be at the Exhibition Mines there in Beckley. Public can come in, I think it's from 10 to 4, and that's on the 19th of August. It's free parking, free admission. We'll have a lot of activities set up for different age groups. I think that the exhibition mine will have some discounted tours of the mines and the facilities there. The youth museum will have some exhibits set up geared toward beekeeping or pollinators for younger folks. And then I think we have a science teacher. We're going to have some microscopes available, and that science teacher will help the kids dissect bees and learn about the anatomy. PowerPoint for people to watch that lasts maybe 3 or 4 minutes. It gives some information about pollinators. So it's going to be a really fun time. It grows a little bit each year. You'll be able to sample every beekeeper's honey at a tasting booth, because a lot of honey has slightly different tastes, unlike what you get in a store where it's blended so that it would always taste the same. We can enjoy the different tastes of the different blooms here in Southern West Virginia.
It's wonderful. And I didn't know we had, you know, such a robust, you know, honey selection around here.
Yeah, it's I would say probably in the United States one of the most diverse floral sources for honey, mostly tree honey, obviously, which makes some of the best honey, I would think, in the world. We'll find out about that shortly. We're going to send some honey to a contest in South America to see what they think. But yeah, so our different in early spring we have the locust trees that a lot of folks see blooming. It's an extremely light colored honey. And then we have basswood or lin, that's the same variety, tulip poplar, sourwood, then the proverbial wildflower honey. So there's lots of different ways that bees make honey from these different plants, but it's all kind of depending on the major source of whatever's blooming at that time. And I think everybody, when you can come out and just taste it, you can actually vote for the one that you think tastes the best. and then you can purchase it at the tent if you would like to. So you'll be supporting beekeepers from about 3 or 4 counties around us. We'll also have live hive demonstration. Probably myself or Sean will be inside a screened-in little building with some live bees, and we'll hold the parts of the hive up with the bees on it and let folks look at it, and we can share with them. You know, maybe we'll find the queen if we're lucky. Maybe not, but maybe we will. So it's a great day. A quick rundown of some of the vendors that's going to be there. Music, live music by the Long Point String Band all afternoon. Be Healthy will have a booth there. Botany Tropicals, Code Blue Creations, Lavender Hill Roost, New River Metal Art, Oakvale Farms, West Virginia Coal Jewelry, West Virginia Wood Turners, B&L Kettle Corn, Francie's Sweets, the Hilltop Coffee Mobile Shop, that's always a big hit. We'll be having smoked barbecue and sweet corn available. And then, of course, the exhibition mine always has fresh made fudge available in their gift shop.
That sounds like a good time, and I know I will definitely be there this year. I didn't get to go last year, but I'll definitely make a point to be there.
Great. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. And I know most people love honey. I love honey specifically, but I know some people have some misconceptions or are even afraid of bees. So what are some, myths and things that you may want to bust in regards to that?
Well, so I think in general, and I get where people come from, right? Anything that stings they call a bee, but there's lots of different varieties of stinging insects, right? Right now, you're starting to see an influx in the number of yellow jackets, maybe hornets, wasps. Those are like the meaner members of the family that sneak up on your picnic and get into your sodas. Honeybees are the only stinging insect, I think, that lose their stinger. So if they sting you, they're going to die. So there has to be a real reason for a honeybee to sting. Super important as far as pollinators. It's estimated at least 1 in 3 bites of food that we eat has been pollinated. Gosh, if we have cotton in our clothes, the cotton's pollinated by bees. So I don't think we actually know how important pollinators, and specifically honeybees, but pollinators in general, are to our everyday life.
Definitely. 'Cause I do see people trying to talk more about it and really trying to shed light on the fact that, there are some bees that are dying off.
Yeah, that's been in the news for several years. It's been a struggle. I think last year in the United States, there was over 40% of all the hives died. And so that's really big. Beekeepers are able to get those numbers back by being conscientious beekeepers. But since about World War II, the number of hives in the United States dropped almost in half. And we can't get back up to that number just because of the disease, the viruses, parasites. We're not able to get back to that number. We can most years recover what died from the year before, but we're not able to get any higher. So the more interest we see in the public, the more information we can get out. And the more you know about a subject, the more you can help with it. So a lot of folks can help. They may not be an active beekeeper, but they can help. Maybe they plant flowers, or watch the labels on any pesticides that they use so that they don't overuse them. Fungicides as well, herbicides as well. So these little insects, I'd kind of like to think are the thermometer of the environment, and depending on how healthy they are, says how healthy our environment is. And obviously, the healthier our environment, the better off we are.
Definitely. And I know we talked a little bit about it before we went on air, about people out there that may be watching that be interested in becoming a beekeeper.
Yeah, so I guess this is one of the few, if we want to call this a farming endeavor, We'll use that word loosely. Most of the time you're thinking about you have to have a lot of land, right? If you have cattle or sheep or chickens and so forth. Bees are little farmer trespassers, so you can put those hives in your backyard and they fly at about 3 miles in any direction. So they can collect nectar from quite a distance. We offer free classes. I think there's a beekeeping group. We have the Raleigh County Beekeepers. We have the Fayette County Beekeepers, the Southeast Beekeepers Association. That's in the Lewisburg area. We have the McDowell County Beekeepers in Welch. So there's lots of those groups that offer education. We teach online classes, which are free, generally taught in January of the evenings when there's not a lot else to do. And so you can just log on with your cup of coffee or tea and see what it takes to become a beekeeper. And then if you want more information, go to these meetings. They're all advertised very well, and we love to have visitors.
Definitely. And if somebody wanted to become, a member with the Beekeeping Collective, how do they join?
Well, again, you would have to contact the different groups, the Raleigh County Beekeepers. Our website, you can actually join online. Our dues are like $20 a year for your entire family. I encourage families to come to the meetings. Love to see kids there. I can talk louder than kids, so that's not a problem. And a lot of times kids at a young age develop a lot of curiosity. And this is a great time for them to learn not to be afraid of certain insects.
Definitely. Start them off early.
Yeah.
All right, so that we're going to roll up on our first break, but you guys stay tuned. I will be right back with President Mark Lilly, and we're going to talk more about all the bees. Welcome back to Sunday Community Forum. I'm here with President Mark Lilly, and we're talking about all things bees in the upcoming Honey Festival. So honey has a lot of different, benefits beyond, just tasting wonderful and being good for your tea. So you talk to us about maybe the benefits honey provides to your allergies.
Yeah, so there's a lot of folks that have allergies due to all the plant blooms, the pollen in the spring, summer, and fall. And so I think there's a general health benefit from taking local honey, similar to any allergy that you have. If there's any treatments, generally they're exposing you to small amounts of whatever you are allergic to and gradually increasing it till your body's accustomed to it. So that occurs in the honey. We have small amounts of pollen, not visible to our eyes, but down in the 50 micron range. So tablespoon a day, you're gradually getting exposed to the different allergens, and your body develops a defense against that. Plus it tastes great.
Definitely. And does it need to be a specific type of honey, or do all the honeys sort of help in that?
No, I think if I was going to take it for health benefits only, I'd want some different varieties, so maybe different colors. The honey changes color in the seasons. The lightest colored honeys are generally produced in the spring, and then by summer you get the amber, and late summer the darker amber, so different floral sources, and that's what gives you the benefits of local honey. Typically in August and September we see the goldenrod bloom and everybody's allergies act up and they think, oh, I'm allergic to goldenrod, when actually that's not the case. The big allergen is ragweed, but its blooms are green, so we really don't notice it. And that would be in any honeys that are late season, early fall. Some of the darker colored varieties is healthful.
Wonderful. And more than just honey, there's a lot of, other substances and things that come from hives, like wax and things like that. What are those beneficial for?
Well, you know, honey and beehives been around for thousands of years, right? So we've learned so much about them. Although there's more to learn, we can take advantage of every product that comes from the hive. Obviously, what we have here today is extracted honey, liquid honey. There are creamed honeys. So when honey crystallizes, a lot of folks think it goes bad. It just needs warmed up in warm water and it goes back to the liquid state. But you can control the size of the crystals so that it's smooth like butter and spread it on whatever, biscuits or bagels. You can flavor it, so you could have like cinnamon creamed honey or chocolate creamed honey. Beeswax can be made, candles, a lot of beauty products, so like lip balms, lotions can be made with that. A lot of folks have found out that they become sensitive to some of the chemicals that are used in those products, so they try to go really natural, and beeswax is about as natural as it can get. Propolis is another product, so that's a sticky substance, and it's actually, the bees gather it from, in our area, primarily pine trees. It's a rosin, and they use it to coat the inside of the hives, and it provides some antibacterial protection for them and for us if you choose to use it. So people make tinctures of propolis. Wax candles, you know, the list is virtually endless. Some people actually want to consume pollen as a health supplement. So we have traps that we can put on the hive, and we may trap 2 days out of 7, trap the pollen, condition it, and then sell it, and then we let the bees have 5 days of the pollen, because that's their protein. So they need the protein. The honey is the carbohydrate to the bee. So yeah, there's nothing that I can think of that we throw away from the hive that comes in there. There's a use or a benefit to everything there.
Wow. So even like, it's just wonderful to see like how bees are just so important to our society and how much they help out with so many different things that we didn't even think about.
Exactly. It's integrated into our lives and we don't even think about it, right? So do bees make ice cream? Well, not in the technical sense, but they pollinate the different feeds that the cattle need in order to produce milk to make ice cream. So probably a lot more important than what we think. The more you learn about it, the more I've realized I need to learn even more. But yeah, we use it every day. We're going to come in contact with something, whether it's in our food, our clothing, our candles, our cosmetics, that can come from a hive.
Wonderful. And speaking of coming from a hive, you brought us some honey here today. So can you tell us a little bit about, I think you said it was sourwood?
This is sourwood honey. So that's the traditional Appalachian area honey. So it's tree honey, sourwood tree. And it only grows in the Appalachian forest in the world. So very specific to our areas. And that's what our grandfathers and great-grandfathers were used to, the mountain honey, it was sometimes referred to. So that's sourwood. That's just one of the varieties. And again, the same hive could produce 3 or 4 different colors and varieties of honey every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just varies, depends on the bees, or?
It depends on what's in bloom. Some years are better than others for certain plants to bloom. Some years locust does well, some years sourwood does well, and other years it doesn't. So there's a difference in the flavors and even within geographic areas. Although all of the plants in southern West Virginia are everywhere, some locations have more sourwood trees than others, or locust, or whatever it might be. So there's always that little nuance of a different flavor.
Wonderful. And we had some other bee enthusiasts, around the station that wanted me to ask you about colony collapse disorder and what that entails.
Well, colony collapse disorder, several years ago, there was a huge die-off in colonies. And so the name that they came up with to distinguish how they were dying was called colony collapse disorder. So in itself, it's not a virus or a disease. It's kind of culmination of symptoms that was pretty much been attributed to varroa mites. So this really small parasite that showed up in the United States in the mid-1980s. And it's now in every hive in North America and the world for the most part. And the bees haven't been able to adapt to it. And so they carry viruses. The mites go into the cells when the larva is developing, and they feed on the fat bodies of that larva. They don't kill it. It's not good if you're a parasite and you kill your host, you die, but it does make them sick. And obviously, just like you and I, if we're not feeling well, we aren't as productive. Same with the bees. These viruses that the mites vector or give to them can really impact the overall colony health or cause it to die or collapse. And then some other things, there's been some like super effective fungicides and herbicides. That's not so good for bees. And in my humble opinion, probably isn't as that good for us as adults either. But we see in those little insects, it affects them first. So maybe we should get the lesson from them. If it's bad for them, we need to look to science to give us answers to see, is it bad for us too?
And you have to consider if they keep spraying it and spraying it and spraying it, if it's bad for the animals, then, you know, eventually we're going to keep ingesting it as well. So,
well, we can see just the debate on Roundup, right? Years ago, it was said to be as safe as taking a baby aspirin. We found out that wasn't quite right. So I think the less we use chemicals in our daily life, whether it's our food supply or on our flowers or whatever, nature has a way of balancing itself out. That's probably better for us than the chemicals.
definitely. So I don't assume that there will be any way to treat, you know, the hive or anything like that when they experience this type of thing.
There are some ways. One is a synthetic chemical that kills the mites. It is approved to use. I personally don't, and I don't condone the use of it because it's simply another chemical. We use 2 organic acids, so they're plant-based acids that are pretty effective on the mites, and develop a schedule on how to use it. It's already found in nature in those plants, and so we're using a more concentrated form. But it seems to control the mites, and I feel good about eating it, or my children or grandchildren. As I've gotten older, I've gotten a little more conscientious about my food sources, and this is just one of those.
So if there are any, you know, people out there that have been, you know, moved by what you had to say today and about what they can do to like save the bees, what are some just little ways that they can kind of help out?
Well, you know, if you enjoy flowers, plant some flowers. You can always look up pollinator-friendly plants, ones that the bloom is a color that attracts them, or the shape of the bloom is conducive for them to be able to get in and get the nectar. Maybe if you mow a large area, consider leaving like the corners or the back unmowed. What we call weeds, a lot of our native pollinators call home, right? So we're seeing now milkweed growing, and it'll soon be blooming. Butterflies use that. Tall grass, our native bumblebees nest right at ground level in tall grass. So if it comes through the winter, don't cut it down the very first thing in the spring. Give it a chance to grow and let those insects use it. Maybe it's nothing more than getting involved, coming to one of our meetings. It's free to come. We encourage anybody to come out and just learn what all bees do or other pollinators and how you can help.
Definitely. Well, I definitely want to get involved. I do love bees, so I'm a little
Great.
bit bee enthusiast. Wouldn't say I'm scared of them, but I respect them, so I just kind of
I think
keep my
that's a good
distance.
thing. Yeah, I mean, we, especially for the little kids, I don't want it to come across as, go out and play with the bees, right? But through educational initiatives like the Honey Festival or some of our meetings, we can teach people, one, how to identify different types of stinging insects, how to react to them so that they're not as much of a problem. And at our next meeting, if anyone wants to attend it there in Beckley, I'll show how to make a yellow jacket trap, which is kind of important this time of year. We're getting into elevated numbers of those little pests.
Awesome. All right, so we're about to wrap up our community forum, but before we go, do you mind plugging your contact information so people can get in touch with you all?
Absolutely. You can go to RaleighCountyBeekeepers.com. That's our website, so we have all of our information there. The Honey Festival, Saturday the 19th from 10 to 4 at the Exhibition Mine. As always, anybody that wants to reach out to me, wvbguy@yahoo.com, or my phone number 304-860-9638.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us at the forum today and letting us know all this wonderful things about bees that we may not have known.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us this Sunday. Be sure to tune in next Sunday where we speak to another distinguished guest about important things happening here in Southern West Virginia. Happy Sunday.